All right. Good morning. Good morning. It is 6:31. It is February 20th. It is a holiday shortened week. It is Tuesday. It is a Monday. We got Nvidia earnings on Wednesday. We have a lot of things to look at. We had a little faulty signals last Thursday, Friday. S&P futures are down 20, coming into 2 weeks that are a little tricky. So we'll see how it all works out. My name is Scott Redler. I'm the Chief Strategic Officer of T3Live.com. Welcome to the 6:30 Club, where I go over how we could look at some levels, get prepared, make some active cash flow, continue to have our system and routine strong so we could do this for a while. Cheers to getting up. We'll see if the iced coffee comes in. When we say hello to some of my dogs around the world. What up, Stephanie? What up, Don? What up, Fernando? Hope everyone's feeling well and had a good holiday. I was just in Florida visiting my mom and dad. Had a great visit. Got to visit your parents. You want your kids to come visit you one day, you better go visit them before you can. Anyway, what up, Dan? What up, Blair? How's it going, Ryan? What up, North Dakota? Red Dog live from the sauna. I did do probably 30 minutes in the sauna this morning, which was good. You know, when you go leave your house and go visit Florida, you're out of your element. No ice barrel, for 2 days. It's funny. Anyway, so with that said, what up, Bobby 4.0 from Tampa, my dogs? So take a look here for a second. Some people like Red Dog, were there any clues that that you had to take some risk down, a little less mega cap exposure, a little less, indice exposure, whatnot? I'm like, well, you look here at the chart, look at the Qs. These are the Qs, right? What do you have here? Before I even say it, what do you see? There are two things that could have told you not to have as much risk besides a bunch of other things. Anyway, look at this wedge. You know what a wedge is? A wedge is a pattern of indecision. A wedge is a consolidation pattern where you're not sure if you're going to make another move higher or a move lower. And if you look real close up on Friday, what happened? We closed below Thursday's low and below the 8-day. So right there, this candle pretty much kind of confirmed a little bit of this Red Dog reversal high here. So that gave you some clues that you shouldn't be having, 10 different mega cap tech names on. Just small, you got to look for small little clues to help you make adjustments. Not listening to TV, not finding the guru saying, hey, what's this chart telling me? And this chart was saying, hey, you know what? We closed below the 8-day moving average. It wasn't like we were so extended from it. And you started to see, Apple making lower highs and lower lows, which it's fine. When Apple's out of play, it's okay. But when it starts to becoming a headwind, it's not so great. Then if you remember, let's get to it. First of all, where are the Qs right now? Just to show the Qs are down 250, 427.94. This low here is 428, so we're below this. So this is a big spot. This is your 21-day moving average. Your 21-day moving average, which is probably closer to 426.50. We've been above it pretty much the majority of this whole trend, that started from November. So we'll see. We'll see, is this spot viable? And then you had, remember, Thursday to Friday. Wow. That was one of those times where, like, you don't have the Super Bowl of, the Super Bowl of football or, the World Cup of soccer. Like Thursday into Friday could have been like the Super Bowl of trading, depending where you sat. We talk about a fine line in trading, a fine line between doing something too early and not letting it work out because you're in too much pain, or doing something kind of just right and letting it work out, or, booking it. And on Thursday into Friday, SMCI, which everyone was talking about, started to get really nuts. So we're the alpha team, like, what could we do to, as I think we're close. I'm usually like a half a day away from calling the top or being able to catch a top. Sometimes I see traders in pain for 3-4 days. They're rolling up shorts. They're ready to, jump off a cliff or something, which you should never do. Never jump off a cliff because you're stuck in a position. It could always work out in some way. But anyway, I'm usually close. I can see the writing on the wall, and we get there. So if you look at SMCI, into this move, okay, yeah. Basically, what did we do at the alpha team? I actually bought $900 puts, and I shorted 1140 and 1160 calls, which we discussed here. So all of a sudden, stocks up at 1070, like 1070. I'm like, holy cow! I'm like, am I going to be 100 points underwater with these 1140s, 1160s that I sold the premium on? That's like the $900 puts. It seemed like they're a pipe dream away, and that's when I tweeted like 920. I'm like, SMCI has gone parabolic. That usually doesn't end well. You don't buy into a parabolic move. Hopefully you trim some and you caught a decent percentage of this move, which a lot of us did. So PS, it took a little time. We opened up, and then finally the fever broke. It got back below 1,005, which was right here, or 1,006. So that became like a red dog reversal top, even though you had to give it like 60 points of room, but and then it broke the prior low, so it showed downside power, filled this gap, and my goodness, went to 801. So those $900 puts that went out on Thursday for like $2 could have been 200. So that's why these things are kind of crazy, And then obviously the 1140s and the 1160s that I sold for 4 and 7, and I added to on Friday morning. I think the 1160s I was sold some for $7. I wound up being zero, so you get to keep that premium. But then again, you have to make the decisions. When do you sell the puts, and when do you do this, when do you do that? So anyway, Friday wound up being a good day with this down 200 points. I didn't, hold the puts until 200. I got out, decent percentage, but even as a pro, I could have done it better. But it was a sticky situation. There were guys who started shorting this into here thinking it was over, and they were, who knows if they made it. Bottom line is, now you have this huge bearish engulfing candle. This morning, what's SMCI doing? It's down another 18. So people are like, am I going to trade SMCI? I'd say, this could be a trade here. This is this low is what? This is 745. This is, so right now it's 784. So it could do two things. It could come down to like the 750s, and you could buy it versus that level, or who knows, maybe puts in a 5-15-minute low, tries to go green, reclaims 801, and you get a little bit of a reflex here. Because again, you still have Nvidia that's coming out on Wednesday, so it's going to dictate the action of the group. But either which way, thank goodness I don't think anyone, not one person that I have on the Alpha team, or in Redler All Access was buying SMCI up here. If anything, they were just worried that it would make a new high and that the premium sold, they'd have to sit through or whatnot. So anyway, down 19, it's kind of no man's land. So I would just make sure you really know your levels. Here's the 21 days is all the way down here. That's how extended it was from everything. Morning, Scott. It was great to see your CNBC Hall of Fame at your parents' house. Oh, that's cool. It's so cool looking at that, right? I had an intern make that for me back in 2007 to 2009. That was a lot of fun. That was all because I was a consistent trader that told it like it is. You can Google Scott Redler financial crisis. There's actually a video of all those clips, little pieces. It's pretty cool, like memory lane. But that's experience. Been doing this for a long time. The only reason why I did that then, I could still be sitting at the seat now, is because I have a routine and a process, and I try and do it every day and work on it. And I'm still not perfect. I'm far from it. SMCI, musical chairs, musical stop. Okay. You can, Sunny Spain. What up, Marcos? How you doing? Yeah. A lot of people, actually, I was in Florida this weekend, Marco, and I was at a party with like 40 of my relatives, and a lot of them started to say that a lot of people, instead of going to Florida to retire, they are going to Spain. It's cheaper in Spain. The weather's just as good. You can even go skiing at times. They have an airport now. If you want to go to Spain, Marcos right there. He could show you around. He showed me around. It was great. But anyway, so people like Red Dog, what are you doing with Nvidia? I have nothing on with Nvidia now. Nvidia's earnings are on Wednesday. A lot could happen between today and tomorrow. I will visit that. What you are seeing, which is actually probably decent, is that they're discounting it a little bit ahead of the numbers. Not a lot. 742, 746 is your pivot area. Right now, this morning, it's right around, the 8-day, which it hasn't been below. Nvidia has not been below the 8-day even since before it took out, this 505, right? So Nvidia is still, it's still hanging there, and a lot it's going to hinge on this. So anyway, this morning, I'll look at it. Maybe there's a trade. I know last time, remember, it went to 696. I actually had a really good trade, and we were buying it, and that was a great active day trade. And but for today, the question is, is it going to open down 13 and go down 25? Are they going to de-risk it a little bit ahead of Wednesday? So this way, if the numbers are that good, it could actually react sort of well and not just be sold like it was last 2 quarters. So we'll see how this goes today. Here's one level. This is, again, 712.5. That's exactly where it is. See, what I'll do is I'll wait for a 5-minute low, look to see if the market's coming in and there's buyers there, then maybe you could play it for cash flow, but I have nothing there. I have no AMD on, even though, just again, when you have something like that happen with SMCI, which is the leader, you try and take some risk off because you just, it is what it is. It's just have to be careful that way. So anyway, this 175 broke. So if you were playing for a move that you thought it would get above 180.49, well, wound up closing below this 175.25. And where's AMD right now? AMD is down 3 at 170. So you can move this up now. Here's your 21-day. So again, this morning could be an opportunity. You might be able to buy a few things to go red to green. We'll see. I really don't have a lot on, just because of the way things closed. I do have a little Amazon left still. Fucking Jeff, stop selling it. Every time there's an excitable scenario, he's friggin' selling into it so he can reduce his 9% and Mackenzie's 8%, because they own 20% or so of the float. Anyway, I do have some left over. What seems to be happening is every morning, right around 9:30, he must have an order with some broker just to sell it. And then after it gets hit on the market on the open sells, it floats up. So wait, do not be buying Amazon pre-market. Wait for like 9:35, 9:40. Tend to get a little bit of a better price. Right now, Amazon's down $1.53, 167. What's this? This is still, this is the new gap pivot that I didn't get stopped out here. I got stopped out in a bunch of other things, that kind of hurt. So I'm not going to make it like Friday was awesome. SMCI made a lot of money there, but Meta, which I thought had enough juice to kind of break out and get above this area, which is still fine. Just came in a bunch. What's this low here? 469. Where's Meta this morning? Meta is 168.50. I'd like to see it kind of hold here. We're losing vehicles. I like stocks that are building and then you can get them and go, and higher lows and higher highs. And at this point, it doesn't feel like there's a whole lot of that. So that's why I have a whole lot less of these type of things on. But we'll see. Amazon, maybe I'll be able to buy more. It can go green this morning for cash flow. Meta, I have options on, not stock. I'll see if that works or not. Everyone's like, Red Dog, I haven't seen you been in Apple since the day after earnings. I'm like, because Apple is just like working lower. I don't think this is going to be an overall problem for the name in the stock, meaning like, is Apple done? Someone's like, Red Dog, Apple put a historic double top. It's over. I'm like, Apple's not over. I'm like, just actively, it's out of play. It's not where the money is. It's not where the action is, and it's the market could ignore it unless it's really starting to like become a headwind. And as of right now, they tried to save it into the 200-day post earnings, and I did buy it that day. And then once it broke all the moving averages around 188, I just got out of the way. And I traded, Friday there was a little trade there. You went red to green real quick, and then it just rolled over. So it's not easy there. Bottom line is this area right here is really important, in Apple now. If Apple were to get below, what's this low here now? This is 181.35. This changed. If it were to get below the post earnings low in this area, then there's a pretty big air pocket, and that would not be good for tech. Be good if you're short actively, and overall, if you've been in Apple for 2 years or 2 decades, don't sell it because it might break the 200 here. But as an active trader that gets maybe paid in February, you just gotta be careful, because again, this almost looks like a little bit of a head and shoulders top pattern. It breaks here. There's a big void there, and that'll probably bring down the Qs and the SPY. So you better know what Apple's doing, if overall, just for complexion wise. Microsoft also is getting a little wishy-washy, where it never filled this gap. Remember I told you about gaps in direction and power? Well, you had this gap down, it came up, never filled this. The SPYs filled it, the Qs filled it, the IWMs filled that gap. Remember the post-CPI gap? Microsoft never did. So what does that tell you? It's weaker than the markets. What does that tell you? If you're active and looking for momentum trades, there's no momentum here. That maybe can go to the downside. What's Microsoft doing this morning? Down 333, below 400, below this 403, and you know it's in no man's land. So there are always some clues from the market. The question now is, can we? Lilly has been best in, yeah, crack wrap. Lily's been awesome. Actually, I just spoke to my friend Petey, who was telling me that he went to the doctor and interviewed the doctor that was giving him a physical and said that the NVO drug is better than Lilly's drug, but that's never really spoken about. So take that for what it's worth. That's his channel checks with his doctor. But ARM is probably the same thing. ARM was weaker than SMCI and Nvidia and AMD those 3 days. So I would be careful with ARM. But so this is the level of Microsoft. So let's go back to Lilly. Was awesome. Lilly, I don't think we have on as a power play anymore, but just to show you how things trigger to start a year, okay, this was a power play for us here when it triggered above this moving average of 587. It's been going up since. Above the 8-day, this has been following all the rules. I told you the story about Lilly. My friend had a daughter named Lily and bought Lily stock when Lily was born, and Lily's now in 5th grade. His average cost is $25 on 1,000 shares. All of a sudden, he still has it. Good for him. He only had $794. He just paid for Lily's college and maybe even a dorm, an apartment out of college. And the only reason why he hasn't sold it because of tax purposes, and it's been working out. Thank goodness he didn't name his daughter Penelope and buy Pfizer, because look at Pfizer. It's been the opposite. It's been, look at that. Actually, Pfizer looks decent right here, maybe. Nobody really did the January flip, but look at this trend to the downside. Different than Lilly. Look at that. It's a little interesting right here, Pfizer. Maybe he wants to get to the 200-day, but anyways, it's true. It's true. And every time he says something to me, I'm like, why don't you sell some and book some? He's like, I knew I shouldn't ask you if I would have sold it. I'm like, well, I'm a trader. I take profits. And, hey, what's up, Palo Alto? Tesla puts. I don't know about puts, but there's every now and then when you have a laggard, and that's what Tesla's been. It's been a laggard. You also get a trade there. So you had a lot of conflicting patterns here. This has been a laggard and been really just I haven't really traded it much except for here and there, from red to green, green to red, whatever. This was when it all of a sudden had that reversal and then broke its trend and went below the moving average, below the 8-day this entire time. Every time it bounced, it was sold. And finally, my buddy Jake and a lot of other people talking about, oh, Red Dog, look at the inverse head and shoulders pattern. I'm like, okay. And P.S., left shoulder, head, right shoulder gave you a decent move. And, now I guess we'll see what happens here. Does it hold 197.40? 197.40 or not? Like before, Tesla was down a little bit. Most people sold on Friday anyway. Look at the size of this move from 184 to 203. Of course, you should have. So this is 197. Where's Tesla this morning? Tesla is a little bit around there. It's worth a look. Hey, listen, if you sold it at 202 on Friday, you have the luxury of buying versus a 515 and low today. I'll take a look at it also. Sometimes in a sea of red, Tesla likes to go red to green for a trade. What up, Jim? Toast. I haven't traded Toast since about a month ago, but nice move. Congratulations if you stayed with it. It now has a an area to trade against. Last time I traded Toast was down here, and I think I was done with it into the 19 area. Nice move there. So for today, we'll see what happens. SPYs and Qs are a little off the lows. We'll see whether or not Amazon could absorb Jeff selling early and maybe Meta. I'm in Goldman Sachs. Goldman Sachs to me has a really nice upper channel, right? This stock has been hard to trade. Every time it looked like it was going to take out this channel, it failed, and every time it was going to break down, it didn't happen. Kind of reminds me of Nvidia or one of those guys, for multiple months until finally it went. So I said, you know what? I'm going to buy the 390 calls and the 400 calls, go out a few weeks. And if Goldman Sachs wants to break above this, it's been this channel for a while. I think it's I think it's something that maybe if it closes above it, but look what happened here. It closed above it there, and then boom, that hurts. That's like getting 11 versus 6 in blackjack, and all of a sudden you get a 4, and then the dealer turns over on a 6, a 4, and gets a face card and takes all your money, but you did the right thing. And if you took home Goldman Sachs on this day, you did the right thing, and then that happened. So that's why I feel like maybe some options. What's Goldman doing this morning? Goldman is down $1.45, not a hell of a lot. So maybe this can go right to green today. Just something, you know. And then if you look at the XBI, it's also, you know, the sector looks pretty good. It's choppy at times, so I have a call spread on here. So I would say out of my option plays, my biggest 2 option plays over for the next few weeks could be the XBI heading towards 200, and maybe Goldman Sachs breaking out, and everything else. I'm just trying to navigate this ON. I tweeted to you guys. I told you when it was at 33, you know, I'm selling at least over half, and I sold over half of the stock. I had the stock from here, a lot of it, and I had the $30 calls for like $1.25, and pretty much started selling, you know, third here when those options were 240, and I think we sold them all the way up to 4. So now I would, I'd probably buy some options back for earnings a little bit closer to here. So whereas here, that's closer to 30.50, and instead of buying the $30 calls, which were great, I'll probably buy the $33 calls since earnings are, you know, March 19th, which is a month from now. So we've got a lot of time between now and then. Anyway, that was a really nice play. So hopefully you made some good money there. NVO chart is spectacular. Yeah, look at that. It's been working higher. It hasn't been Lily, but it's been, yeah, look at that. Trend. Look at this gap. Another gap right there. So when I get just good to learn, when a gap doesn't get filled like here, it shows power to the upside. So that's been working. Anyway, last you want to look at what's it called? Bitcoin. Bitcoin's been in fuego. I've made some decent money in Bitcoin. It hasn't been a full, you know, hasn't been like, you know, my focus because I've been just doing everything else. You can't trade Bitcoin, Coin, Mara, Ride, and also trade all the mega caps and Nvidia and ARM and et cetera, et cetera. So where's Bitcoin right now? Wow, Bitcoin looks like it's setting up another bull type flag to go again. I held the 8th day. Last time I had a really good trade was right around here at 44,000. Remember the pocket pivot? You had a red dog reversal here to buy, and I sold into there, and then I bought it again, and I think I sold it here. I didn't play the double top break for that, but now this looks like it's on its way to 55,000, which is, so if you're playing the you know the equity, you know, names that correlate to it, it could go again. And if you look at the weekly chart, sometimes it's good to go to a weekly chart. You'll see that, you know, 55 is right there. So here's 55. So if it wants to break above this little spot, just say if it holds this spot and then breaks above it, you have 55, and then you have 63, and then there's the all-time high. Pretty impressive. You know, these ETFs from BlackRock and all these places, they're buying Bitcoin, and they've never had to buy them before. So there's demand out there, and Bitcoin proved to be a currency as much as other stuff. But just don't get caught up buying all the altcoins. When this happens, yes, there's froth everywhere. Follow the same small cap rules for stocks as you do for altcoins. I know for me, I made a lot of money in altcoins during this last move up, and then I sold over 75% of all my altcoins, but I didn't realize that, you know, the last 25% could go down to 90% off highs, and you give back a lot of money. So just make sure if you're playing the altcoin market with Bitcoin and Ethereum, you know, you're very, very tight, and you have stops and risk defined. Anyway, the longer this holds here, you have 55 and 63, and now at 655, I got to jump. At this point, we'll see what happens. There's a lot of people calling it, you know, an overall top in the market. Could be. Here's the SPYs. The SPYs right now have come a long way. I wouldn't mind a correction either. I'd love a correction. I would love to start putting my wife's blood in the street account back to work. She's in full cash in a rider. She's at her all-time highs. You know, right now we're opening below 498 on the SPYs. So if you take this here are the SPYs. You know, 497.83. So the question is, will the SPYs reclaim the 8th day, or is it going to see a move towards 494 or even the 21-day, which has been above this entire time? If that doesn't hold this week, then hey, then maybe we're in a different trend, and you have to just change your style. So with that said, let's go back to Red Dog in the sauna. We'll see again Wednesday's Nvidia. A lot of time between now and tomorrow. Tomorrow afternoon, I'll see what Nvidia is. I'll try and figure out what I want to do option-wise. I might do options, I might not. We'll see. We'll see what happens today. You know, even like the SMCI, some people like, hey, Red Dog, It was 10.75. I'm going to buy it to go green today. All right, it's only down 11 now. Maybe it goes from down 15 to up 15. It's very thin, so be careful. See what happens with Nvidia today. Nvidia right now is kind of right by the what's it called, the 8-day, and we'll see what today brings. Take it slow, net your money. Start the week off on a good foot, and if you're having a great February, just keep letting it add up so you can get a check. If you get paid quarterly, I get paid quarterly. Hopefully, it's adding up for you, and just make sure you don't fall asleep behind the wheel thinking you're in cruise control when things get a little bumpy out there. And last week they started to get a little bumpy. Oh, I do have Benzinga today. Yes, at 8:35. So I better get going, get my charts going, get my morning call out of the way so I can join Benzinga with some of that crew. They're good guys over there. So tune in there. All right, gotta jump. Later, guys.